I love the Saw movies, but to describe the worst one,
Little idiots! Idiots!
yeah, yeah. Because I'm actually going to start with my least favorite and work up to my favorite, up to number 1. So, without wasting any more time, let's get into number 9. Number 9 goes to Saw 3D. I will be doing a complete review and rundown of everything I hate about this movie. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here. So first, let me just get into a few positives maybe that I can think of. It's always fun to see Nazis get fucked up, right? The rest of it can go fuck itself in its fat fucking ass. I fucking hate this dumpster fire piece of shit. I think it's an abomination. I think everything, it is literally what happens when you come as close as you can to nearly ending a near perfect franchise. And even though it's got some flaws here and there, I understand, but goddamn, they almost had an ending that they could have just tied a bow and made this thing beautiful. But instead, they created an abomination that was an insult to everybody that had been hanging on since the beginning, and they just took a big fat fucking shit on all of us. So if you want to know my feelings towards Saw 3D, those are my feelings towards Saw 3D. And again, I will be going down an entire list of everything I fucking hate about that movie, because goddamn, what a dumpster fire of a mess. Number 8 goes to Spiral. Now, Spiral, I've only seen this movie twice, and honestly, my opinion of it didn't change or shift that much. If anything, I can say I liked the motivation of the new killer, whatever his fucking name is. I don't even care to know. Somebody going after the police force and using John's methods, that's cool. That's a cool way of going about it. It's kind of cooler to see like the smaller police force rather than like FBI agents and the higher up guys. Something about it just feels more grounded. So that's cool. I liked that. The traps are cool. The finger trap is probably the best one. Because after that, I mean, the trap, like one trap's just like shooting glass at a guy's back and he just dies. And so, I mean, visually it looks cool. The train trap was just, I mean, it was just kind of obvious, you know, and they released it, which is kind of a bummer. I didn't watch it, but they released it. And when you only have so many traps, like there's only like a handful of traps. So I don't know, like it's weird that you just give one away. The wax trap just doesn't make sense to me. So there's that. Visually, it looks like a good movie. Chris Rock is fine in it. I just kind of wish that they would have done something like changed him up a little bit or something. I don't know. Like when he's just fresh, like clean shaven and everything, I just kind of see Chris Rock the most. So like to me, it's when people can like put on a mustache or sideburns or something. I don't know, kind of get into a character a little bit. If you don't care about the Saw movies, if somebody doesn't care about the Saw movies at all, I could see why you would like this one. I can actually see why this would be your favorite one. Just to me, it doesn't have that sawness, that intensity that I like a little more. So that's why it ranked lower on this one. It just doesn't feel like a Saw movie. Number 7, Saw 5. Now, I think most people will understand this. Saw 5 is kind of where, even if you're a Saw fan and you're watching the first one and you're enjoying everything, and if you're doing a marathon, this is where, like, you know, in the Saw story and lore, you kind of, this is a Hoffman story. This is where they start trying to backpedal and going, hey, we got this other character, let's show who he is. And I'll be honest, like, I like the idea of like taking a cop and Jigsaw having this guy that has been on the inside the whole time, and he's damaged, and he's got, you know, reason to do everything that he's doing, and to be and to see Jigsaw's point of view. But they just kind of go so wishy-washy with him that he just seems like a brute, like dog off a chain. If you like looking back on everything, nothing about him really makes sense, and nothing that John says about him really makes sense. Like even from the beginning, like when he's sitting there, he goes like, well, I could kill you. He looks at the knife and goes, well, I could kill you right here. And then John goes, yeah, but you're not really a killer. And that made sense at the time. Like if he wasn't really a killer and he just did what he did because he wanted to get back at the guy for his sister, then that made sense. But they turned him into a killer. So he is a killer. So I don't know why, like, I get that, like, okay, well, he took the opportunity to flush out his anger and flush out his inner demons and all that he actually did have. And John, it's just weird to me because you make John have so much foresight, and then it's like he completely read Mark wrong. If John knew the whole time who Mark was, then John looks dumb. If John didn't know who Mark was, then John looks dumb. So Mark Hoffman kind of makes John look dumb either way. And I don't like that. To me, that just kind of, I don't know. Like if they would have, we'll get into it, but if things would have been different, then maybe. But in this movie alone, I'll say just the whole idea of building Mark up as this next Jigsaw, the idea is cool. For me, it's just the actor and the character himself just never really does anything for me that like makes me like him. Every scene with Jigsaw in it, I'm sucking up and I'm loving. I can enjoy every scene of that. But even the game itself just falls flat for me. The bombs are boring. The whole reasoning on why everybody's there. I'll say that even the end, when the whole twist on both sides of the story in this one, on the game side where it's like we should have been working together, it's like, well, kind of no shit. I mean, I get that at the beginning you probably would be struggling, just survival of the fittest and all that, but they even go back and forth with that. So it's like they learn that lesson, they don't learn that lesson, they learn that lesson, they don't learn that, and it's not really a lesson learned, whatever. So the game is boring. This is one thing that just kind of bugs me every time I watch it now. You're never watching, what's her name? Rita from Dexter. You never see her reaction the whole, like maybe once. So when they stick their arms in, they're just in pain the whole time, but you're just watching him. Watch the movie again. It just swings around. It never shows her reaction. Maybe once, but it just, her head is basically down the entire time, and you're just watching him. It's weird thing for me. I'll say cool seeing Strom get fucking smashed, but it's weird because like I notice a lot of people. This may be just a me thing, maybe just a few people that I've been around. A lot of people have a hard time seeing a difference between Strom and Hoffman. I had that problem. I don't know why, because a second time view, like now it's like obviously I see differences, but I don't know. Maybe it's the color palette to go with them, their head shape. Like I don't know. There's just something weird that happens there. That when people watch this one, they get them two mixed up, and it fucks with them throughout the movie. Because even at the end, they're like, I don't know who the fuck is winning. And I remember that for the longest time, I didn't even think that there was a twist at the end. I didn't know that it wasn't supposed to play out the way it was. I just kind of assumed. Maybe it's just because we're at the fifth one, and I don't think that this is the end. I don't know what it was at the time, but I have never thought once Hoffman goes into that box, my mindset was, yeah, okay, this is playing out exactly how he wants. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I never thought like I just thought like it was obvious, you know? So like, I didn't think this was a twist. But it wasn't until I watched it with my cousin that he was just totally into it. And he's like, oh shit, he got him. And I was like, what? Oh no shit. You actually think that he fucking, okay. oh, that's cool. So that made me like it a little more to see somebody else's reaction, but it just never got me. I don't know why. It just, maybe I just flew over my head, I guess. I just don't know. Or I was just so into the Saw. My mindset was so Saw that I was just on the side that we're going to have another one. Who knows? But that's Saw 5 for you. All right, now we're getting into the ones. The next three are a little more the ones that got me hooked. The ones that kept me coming back. You know what I mean? And our number 6 selection is Saw 4. Saw 4. Now this one actually used to be my favorite one, and I think looking back, a lot of that it goes to the getting to see John's origin. That was always really fun for me. Getting to see what turned John into the monster. And I'll say I think this is the one that really made me a bigger Saw fan. You know, it took me what I was as a fan and elevated it just a little more, because even though the game isn't the best in this one, I did like the fact that we went back to Riggs, somebody that we had seen before, because I really didn't pay attention. It was almost someone like, I was like, wait, who? And then we went back, I was like, oh, that's cool. Are we discovering all these characters now? So it kind of just expanding the universe that we were already in. And now, you know, having somebody like Detective Matthews as the goal, I thought was really cool. And I have to say, this one does have my favorite trap with the knife chair trap. I love the handmade style of it. It just feels rusty. It feels disturbing. Just knives. Who is in it, and the fact that it's the one trap that John's there staring him directly in the face, and that whole scene is just memorable, and it just really, it's one of the best, I think, in the entire Saw franchise. Also, not to mention the scalping trap. That one is just brutal as fuck. Just the visual of it, the whole thing is just so disturbing. And the way they transition scenes in this one, I don't know why they didn't continue that. I feel like that should have been something that Saw is known for, and yet it feels like it's just this one. Maybe they do it I can't remember. Maybe it's here, there, and one more time or two more times throughout the franchise, but I don't remember them. This one, they're really cool the way they do it, and it's all, if you look in the behind the scenes, it's all like practical and stuff. So at least as far as I remember. Although it ends a little meh. This one had one of the trippier endings for me, where it took place during number 3. I thought that was really cool. And that worked for me, because at that point it felt like, hey, if you're on board, we have more that we're showing you. There's a reason to be watching these. And it kind of felt like you were in on a club. If you knew one or two people that actually had watched these movies, it did make you feel like, oh, did you notice that this was taking place during that? And it was something to talk about back in the day. If people didn't watch them, then they really didn't get that. And I understand that this, in the next one, we're kind of that point where they kind of start getting a little too confusing for people, and I get that. But overall, I like this one. As a fan, I enjoy every scene with Jigsaw. So this one it just feels that. Next, we have Jigsaw. I actually found myself enjoying this one more and more every time I watched it. For me, this is the one where if you're a Saw fan and you know somebody that is a little hesitant, even if they're a horror fan, they're a little hesitant on watching the Saw movies because they think that all they are traps, I suggest showing them this one, because it's a little more light. You don't have to know anything about the originals except for that Jigsaw's dead, which at this point I think people know that. Does it satisfy me as a Saw fan? Like, does it give me everything I want as a fan? No, but it does enough, and it doesn't fuck with anything, and it doesn't try to be something that it's not, and I can just sit back and enjoy it, you know? Like, that's nice. Like, it's nice to this can almost be, for me, background noise. Like, it's just that kind of a movie. So let's just go into some positive. Right away, I like the barn setting. All right, I like the lighting. Changing settings is hard for a Saw movie. Like, if you look at a lot of them, some of them look like they could all be in the same place, and they turn out to be in the same place. So, you know, to change it up and make it fresh and not just look like the same fucking bathroom or something again, that can be a little, and to still feel like Saw. I like the fact that it's like John's barn. Like, that's cool. That it also adds to his character. Our killer owns a barn. Like, that's, for me, I don't know why, but the more I think about who John Kramer must have been before he was Jigsaw, is just fascinating to me. Like, the idea of a guy just building stuff on a farm is just awesome. Like, I'll say this, like, the very opening trap, it does feel a little too glossy, a little too clean. I would have liked it to feel a little dirtier. But again, I get it. Like, it's kind of just taking you for a ride. And it does feel like that, and it does feel fun. I love John's voice coming out from the speakers, like he is a presence that is watching you. That is awesome. I want more of that in Saw. I want more of it feels like somebody's watching you on the cameras. That feels like the original Saw. I like him talking to them through, telling them to you know, confess, to tell your lie, you know, like the truth will set you free. Like, that feels good. That feels like John is speaking into their soul, like he's a presence. And I liked the ending. I think the last trap was pretty cool, even though I'm not really a fan of the lasers being the thing. Like, I'm more of a rusty metal, make it look handmade, like John built something in a scrapyard kind of trap guy. But like, it's fine. It's good enough. The end result looked cool enough. It didn't look all CGI and shit. It didn't look cheesy. It didn't take me out of it. It's juicy. It's gross. It's fucked up. And it happens to a very a character that you enjoy not liking. So that it very fun. And I feel like the way Logan presented himself and the way he changed his voice, and he gets very serious, and I speak for the dead, and you know, like I could feel him changing, and I liked that. I thought that was cool. It felt like there was a Jigsaw in him, you know what I mean? And man, I honestly, to me, if I was in charge, I would roll with him. I feel like he's the best you had. You had your new guy. You could have changed. You could have rolled with it. But I don't know. They're doing their own thing. So those are the likes. Those are my likes. Let's get into a few dislikes. Going into the characters playing the game. Weak, honestly. Like, all of them are weak. I did not like the guy that is cracking a few jokes. The jokes drive me the fucking insane. I don't want any sense. I don't want sense of humor. I don't want jokes. I don't want nothing. And I actually didn't touch on that in Spiral, but I don't want any jokes at all in a Saw movie. So right there, that bugged me. Just the reasoning that they're in the traps just felt it was a little stretch to believe that John would know that much. And I get it. We feel that way in a lot of Saw movies, but when you know the exact change in somebody's purse that they stole from, I don't like, to me, I can't, there's not enough dots for me to understand, to draw lines to understand how Jigsaw would know the exact change that this woman stole out of a random lady's purse. That, like, who is she I don't know. To me, it's like, is she telling people this? Was it in a diary that she stole exactly? What was it? It was like $3.53. It's like, how the fuck? Who are you telling? Like, why are you? I don't know. To me, that was weird. John knowing for sure that she killed her baby. Okay, I mean, he could just, I feel like he just needed a scene where he was looking in the window or something. I guess maybe it makes him look like a creep. Maybe he's looking through something. Maybe he had suspicions or something. Could have been a fight or something. I don't know. Just a reason for him to see and know for sure. John needs a little bit of more of, like, we need a little more certainty John's methods here on how he knows his shit. My wife's favorite is the motorcycle one. She's like, I like that it's connected to him. It's his nephew, you know, it's the guy that hurt his nephew. And I can agree, but again, it's contradicting John's methods, because he says it like it should never be personal. It should never come from a place of anger, all that. Well, you've done that quite a bit. I mean, it's always been your doctors. So it's been, this guy's hurt your nephew. It's been the people that have fucked. It was the guy that fucked with your stuff. So I mean, I get that he's kind of learning that, but it doesn't seem like he ever really learns that. So I don't know. I love that we see Logan that actually helped build the reverse bear trap. That's fucking awesome. I love the idea of the jigsawrules.com and the fact that they've made it to where like Jigsaw is known in this world and he's actually like kind of idolized a little bit. That's kind of cool. There's a lot you could do with that, but they probably won't. But you know, it's cool. It's cool. I feel like they did just some cool things with this. They just kind of tried some stuff and they just had fun with it. This one feels like a fun movie. My biggest negative right here. For me, they didn't really twist me on the time difference. I just didn't really understand what was going on. I thought there were two different games going on because the bodies, to me, didn't match up with the barn. So I just suspected there was two different games going on. So I'm watching, I'm not thinking that they're recovering the barn bodies. So I was thinking there was another game going on. So by the time Jigsaw appeared, it kind of twisted me in a different way. But then I was like, oh, okay. I don't know. I feel like I was just kind of I was trying to figure things out and I was kind of on the wrong path right to begin with. But that also kind of just misled me. So it worked without working in a way. So it's kind of a negative positive, I guess you could say. But overall, I had fun. Once Jigsaw was on screen, he was doing his Jigsaw thing, talking the way Jigsaw talks, saying shit without really telling you what's going on. And the reveal of the whole, you've got things backwards. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Every time I watch it with people, they are just, honestly, that's as big of a reaction as a lot of the Saw movies. I mean, that reaction of you've got things back, and once that's the movie. Like for a lot of people, you can show this one them, and that's going to give them a good idea of how John thinks. And you tell them, you go, that's it right there. If you want to know how Jigsaw is going to fucking talk and how you're not going to know what he's actually saying, that's it right there. Show them that. Next, we have Saw 6. Saw 6 to me is how it should have ended. You had John's insurance company, basically the thing that started it all, their greed, really created John. If only he would have gotten the help, none of this would have ever happened. Kind of full circle in a way. This is where it should have just wrapped up here, you know? Like, it really should have. And I feel like if it wasn't just for Hoffman getting out right at that end, it would have been perfect. If he would have just died, it would have been perfect. Right away, I enjoy this game a lot. The idea right away when we open, now I remember in theaters, I was like, whoa, okay, this is different. It was so fucking bright. Like, what the fuck? Like, this is the first time we were getting like a cityscape. We were outside of the bathroom in the houses and all the gross grime, and I was like, what? This feels like a real movie. Like, I felt like I was watching a Mission Impossible movie for a second. The flashbacks with John, they're not just pointless flashbacks. They are needed. They are necessary. They feel right. They feel like they're John being John, and they offer really, like, they actually say something. It's John's knowledge and his personality actually. You're seeing the moments in between John Kramer and Jigsaw. You're seeing him become Jigsaw, and those are the moments that I really like. I like the man starting to deplete out of him, and we're seeing why, the reasons why It's another reason why he just kind of fucking gave up and became the monster he is. If this was the end, then we would be ending on John's will. And his will is to go after his insurance company that literally fucks over everybody. To me, there's something like heroic about that. And that feels good to end this, like, this guy that his whole thing has been about, like trying to help in his own sick, twisted way and take out bad people. And his last thing is like, I want this whole fucking department to go. That would have been fucking awesome. And if it would have, if his last thing would have been like, and I got my wife to take out the guy that I knew was going to go off the rails. But I used him. I used him to get everything I needed. And I got my wife to take him out and she's safe and all that. Man, it was right there. It was right fucking there, man. You guys almost had it. It could have been beautiful. So fucking close, because the game is fun too. I'll say this, like, if you can just watch as John, this is where John is a little more vengeful than it's, you know, I get it. We get it that John's methods are everybody deserves a chance. Well, you shot fucking 3 people in cold blood, so I don't know how that works. Yeah, really just the end. The end really bugs me. Number 3. Number 3 goes to number 1. Number 1, I have gone so back and forth with. I think once I started liking the other ones so much that this one just kept falling down the list, and it wasn't until really deciding and looking at all of them and really deciding which ones deserve to go where when you're making which ones are the best. I mean, there's so much that this one just has on its side. It was the first to start it all. The reveal at the end, although I will say, compared to some of the others, not the biggest thing ever. It's simplistic, but very effective. So it does that. It just, I've noticed compared to a lot of the other ones, afterwards, when the movie's over and you're sitting there with someone and you're talking about it, yes, there is that holy shit moment, but it doesn't really do anything after. It doesn't really change a lot of the story. You know what I mean? You're just kind of like, oh, he was laying there the whole time. It doesn't twist a lot. One thing that I think helped watching these with a fresh pair of eyes, somebody who had never seen them before, even after dozens of times watching these, one thing that helped me kind of see them in a different light, I kept forgetting after you watch him a lot, you kind of forget, at least I did, that Zepp is Zepp, and that you forget that Zepp is supposed to be Jigsaw, and I forget that. That's my own fanboyness just on overload, and my, you know, I'm just so into the Saw movies that everyone's their own character. So I forget that Zepp is, a mislead. So watching it with someone new, it did give me a new appreciation for kind of that more simple twist, So I'll say that, like, I understand that the twist of John getting up goes with Zepp. So in that way, it all does come together. It's just, by the end, even Zepp wasn't doing all that much, and what he was doing, it's just kind of weird to me, like the whole thing with the gun and all that. It's just, this one, you can watch this as a standalone horror movie, which it probably was meant to be, obviously. And it's really good, really effective. It's damn near, in my opinion, a perfect horror movie. You have a great actor in Danny Glover. Obviously, looking back, like you can watch this movie and you're like, yeah, those car chase scenes, it's just like all black around them with just a little bit of light. So you can definitely see the low budget quality in this one. But as a standalone, it is fun. And then with what they do in the rest of them to keep coming back and kind of building off this bathroom, it's crazy what they've created from this bathroom. You know what I mean? Like, that is just wild to me. So in that, it deserves the number 3 place. I mean, I don't know how it doesn't. If it's not in your number 3, it should be somewhere in number 3. You know what I mean? Like in the top 3. But honestly, hey, if it's not, it's not. For me, it has been lower. It probably has been lower than the top 3. But I feel like as I've gotten older, as I've rewatched it with people, it's just been more fun. And I'll say, like, just this kind of simplisticness of the traps. They're just more grimy. Saw one. It's been at the bottom. It's been probably everywhere in a list for me. And now I think this is where it's going to probably stay. But we have Saw X, so who knows? And the number 2 spot goes to Saw 3. I can understand this one's a lot lower on people's list. For me, the way it ties everything together at the end, and it has so much that it's just showing you without, like, it's telling you without telling you. It does it so perfectly to where, at least to me, look, maybe you watched this movie and you saw everything. You got everything. The dude said he wanted a divorce and you knew instantly he wants you to divorce your husband. To me, everything that they were showing us through flashbacks and everything completely misled me. To where by the end, with it being Amanda's game, with Lynn and Jeff being married and it being about their son and everything works. The whole idea of Jeff and his pain, and the way his game is played out, and how really he's in control the whole time. All of these people, this game could have been over like that. All of these people could be free. This game could be nothing, but it's relying on a man's grief, and it's relying on him, just his pain and his loss, and you feel that through the actor. I wish I knew the actor's name. He's very good in this movie. I give full respect to his performance, because honestly, and I apologize for not doing that more in this ranking. I do think the majority of the actors that are in these movies are actually really, really well performed. If I did that, I would just be saying that every video. So, but let me just say it now. Most of the actors, I'll say there's a few meh here, but they get good actors in these movies. And I think the actors that are in these movies are having fun, and they want to be in these movies the majority of the time. We really get to see Amanda and her emotional side, and the flashbacks with her, and seeing that John is like a father figure to her. I really like getting to build that relationship and seeing her fate, and just all that, and John's fate, and just the whole wrap up of how this is one of those times to me where I understand everybody going like, how could John know all these things? And I understand it past this. I do. I understand it past this, and I understand that Hoffman has a lot of interference and all that, and some people don't even understand that part, that Hoffman plays a big role in the things going on. So it's not just like John knew everything before he died, but he didn't know a lot. But I feel like at this point with this twist, it's not that unbelievable with just withholding some information from each of these characters, that if the decisions that they did make did play out, that is how things would go. And especially with them kind of sealing it that Jeff is the kind of guy he is. I mean, every time by the time he got to the point of putting away his grief, it was too late. And that's kind of, most people will make the same mistakes over and over. If you want to know what somebody's going to do in the future, look at their past. I mean, yes, people change, but this is what it's about, is that this guy didn't change, and John's life and ending is the cause of humanity not changing. That's the whole thing. There's two endings to this one. There's one where Jeff just like loses his mind, and it's just really weird. And I don't like that one. That one's weird to me, where he just sits there and the visuals get weird, and it just, to me, that one just doesn't. Maybe it's just because I didn't watch that one first. If I would have watched that one first, I probably would have liked that one. The rack is brutal. The pig guts are disgusting. But for me, the way it all entwines with everything, and it's a good, solid story with John and everything, to me, and with the three characters, and it kills him off, kills his apprentice off. It's almost like John saying, all right, this is it. I like that. To me, this would have been a good ending. All right, now we've come down to our final pick, which is, as you know, Saw 2. Saw 2 to me is the perfect Saw movie. From the beginning to the opening trap, perfectly brutal without being too much, not too graphic, but still effective. Opens you up with what you're in for, and right away we just get going with them raiding John's workshop. I love everything about it. John, just as a presence, is awesome in this movie. He is like the most Jigsaw that we ever get, with him just sitting there. Like, it's amazing that there's this awesome, iconic killer that literally just kind of sits there. The whole story with Detective Matthews and his son is awesome. I think that's such a cool story idea, such a cool horror movie idea. And even though, look, none of these movies like scare me, but they're fun. That's the whole idea, that they're a fun ride. And to me, this one, I'll fully admit, maybe this is my favorite one because this was the first one that I watched. I didn't watch the first one as my entry to these. So for me, my big twist, my getting up in the bathroom, was this twist, was the safe, was Amanda, was the time difference. What a fucking entry it was. I can remember watching this at my cousin's house, and I was about 13, and I'd never even heard of Saw, and I think they just popped this in. We're all watching it. By the time you get to the twist, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Holy shit. And I remember I just had to rewatch, and I was hooked. I've been hooked ever since. This is the movie that got me. You need a good twist. I think if you're gonna have a Saw movie, you need a good fucking twist. And this one just twists with the whole time realizing that you're watching a recording, and then with him being in the wrong house, and then once the safe opens, you're just on overload of holy shit, what the fuck is going on? So to me, this is like just such a fun fucking movie to watch, and to have somebody sit down. I almost love this one so much that watching them, like, the first one's fun, it can be fun and everything, but you're watching it and you're kind of waiting to get to the ending to see people's reaction, and then the reaction's like that, and you just tell them like the next one's better. And because I like this one so much, I'm almost just waiting to get to this one. I'm not waiting for the end of that one. I'm just waiting to get to this one while watching them in like a marathon or something. So to me, like, it's just such a perfect movie. And just the way that this one ends, the way that it ends with his little smile. Saw 2, I think, is the best Saw movie of them all. I think it earns its right to honestly go down in history as one of the greatest horror movies of all time. I think this is the movie that made Jigsaw who he is. I think this is the movie that really showed what kind of mindset he has, and without an origin, without we only know about the cancer, only know about that. So like it gives more to John without giving him an origin. If you just watch it as who he is now, like even his smile, his little chuckles and stuff, and asking for water, it's just so disturbing. And Donnie Wahlberg's performance as like not wanting to deal with this guy's shit. And again, once the safe opens, fucking mindfuck. So I'm just gonna keep saying things I love about this movie. So if there's any negatives, I'd say like maybe like the furnace scene isn't all that. No, man, I don't have a negative. I don't have any negatives with this movie. I really don't. I can't think of anything. It's just, to me, it's just perfect all the way around. Even going back to the bathroom, it's fucking awesome. Again, if you watch all three of these, the top three that I've picked, you can watch these and just watch these and you're good, man. You're good. Buy a good 3-box set. You're fucking good. It doesn't have to get confusing if you don't want it to get confusing. A good lesson for life and a good lesson to end on this video. Alright, have a good fucking day, Saw fans.